Hey, Crusader Nation, today's segment is all about Doge. Yes, Senator Mike Lee is out there talking about it. We're going to tell you all about Doge and how the Constitution... Wait, before we get to that, I have to ask you a favor. Can you click that subscribe button right down there? Yeah, you see that subscribe? Click it. Make sure you enable all the notifications, too. And I'm going to tell you why. If you are looking for American history, the study and defense of the Constitution, and how we can apply Make America Great Again, and maybe even look at Making America Great Again through a Christian and sometimes even very Catholic point of view, you came to the right place. You're going to want to subscribe so you get the notifications. Get the notifications. Use me as your alarm clock. I'll wake you up with the notification that we're going live every weekday morning at 6 a.m. And you'll never get stuck with an annoying alarm clock or Eddie and the Breitbart Breakfast Flakes. So click the subscribe button. And now that you've done that, thank you so much for that. On with the show and everything you ever wanted to know about Doge, but we're afraid to ask. Let's do this. Let's go to the Twitter feed, Mike Lee, because I want to start the discussion of this, because he brought up some really good points. I brought up the 80-year turning point year, okay? So if you take 1937 as your year, right? So that is 63 and 24. So we're in year number 87. It would actually be year 88. If 37 is the year, next year, 2025, would be a year 88. And yes, I believe that the affairs, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate yet equal station that the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect for the opinions of mankind, to require them to declare the reasons that impel them to the separation. If Jefferson had only said secession instead of separation. By the way, you guys impressed? That was the preamble to the Declaration. I just, off the top of the head. No teleprompter needed. It's a patriotic version. It's right here. It's here. Okay. Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee. And this Twitter thread that he put out yesterday. Hold on a second here. Okay, I have to find it because I have it. So you're gonna do it from your screen? Okay, we'll do it from you. One, in a meeting with Elon Musk, Vivek Magaswamy, and Speaker Johnson, Speaker Zion King. Elon and Vivek referred to the fact that because unelected bureaucrats now make most federal law and control much of our economy, we have been stripped of the benefits of a constitutional republic. How many of you people, raise your hands out there, if you're driving and listening to the 990 AM WGSO? By the way, when the show ends, WGSO people in New Orleans, we still carry on for at least another 2 more hours. Download the best radio app and radio apps, the Crusade Radio Network radio app, and you can keep listening to the rest of the show. You don't have to miss anything. Those of you watching on X, watching on Rumble, remember, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Maybe we get to 1,800 today, 1,800 subscribers, started with none. In any event, and on X.com, follow us. Raise your hand if you want a constitutional republic. The use of the word, I mean, the fact that the general government of the United States has people in it now that are actually using, wait for it, you people, little r republic or little r Republican, not a capital R, little r. Remember, we had a whole campaign for years. Some of you probably still had the T-shirts and bumper stickers. Republicanism. If you have to ask, you're part of the problem. Remember? Mike Lee using the benefits of a constitutional republic language is powerful. I hope, and I'm going to do all I can with some with the wonderful audience that God has blessed us with, to instill into you and to remind you that there is nothing wrong with having a constitution. There's nothing wrong inherently. This especially goes out to my trad Catholic pros who think that these things are just inherent evils. They're not. There's nothing wrong with having a constitution. As a matter of fact, there are actually lectures from Brother Francis Maloof where Brother Francis actually talks about the U.S. Constitution. He talks about the First Amendment. So Fakir, our philosophical father, was okay with the constitutional republic as a concept. We should all be. It's just one manner. You can have a monarchy, true, and that may be the preferred method. Constitutional republic, if it's an actual little R republic, is fine. See, on this show, this is what we do here, folks. We explain these things to you so you can understand them, and then you'll fall more in love with the idea. So a little R constitutional republic, says Mike Lee. And then he goes in his rant on Twitter, slide 2, he goes, as Vivek Magaswamy noted, the need for Americans to demand accountability from their own government is precisely why we fought and mercifully won the American Revolution. That got me thinking. Now, is that a perfectly correct statement? Was government inefficiency? Was that why the war for American independence was fought? If you were to ask John Adams that question, he would say, no, that's not true. That's malarkey. If you would ask Washington, George Washington, remember George Washington was fond of writing a lot of letters, and in his letters, he would tell people when they were prior to 1776 or during 1776, he would refer to what the colonists, the founding fathers were doing as the glorious cause. Why did he think it was a glorious cause? Well, because he thought that the idea that you could practice self-government without a monarch was something that ought to be tried. It actually had been tried with some success in ancient Rome. It's where do you think we get the idea of a Senate? We didn't invent the idea of a Senate. The Romans did. So in any event, Mike Lee continues, throughout Anglo-American history, we've seen a major upheaval every 75 to 90 years. It's almost like clockwork. Each pivot in American history has been kickstarted by events in just 3 critical years. By my reckoning, those years are 1776. Again, he and I are in perfect agreement with that. 1861. Now again, I'm going to backdate that 3 years to 1858, Senator Lee, and the reason is that's the year that Lincoln is elected to Congress, or one of the years he's elected to Congress, and begins to tell people that. Or there are people in this new thing. That's the year the Republican Party with a capital R is formed. That is the year that the radical Republicans in the North finally now have an organized political party. And then when Lincoln comes along, they have an advocate to bring about it for abolition, to bring about an end to slavery and the other things. So I say that the pivotal year is not 1861. That's just when the bullets start flying. 1858. But 1858, 1861, I'll concede the point. And then he says 1937. These aren't just random years, they're game changers. In 1776, we declared independence from a large, distant government that recognized no limits on its authority and refused to hold itself accountable to the American people. Sound familiar? In 1861, the American Civil War began, hastening the end of a tragic chapter of our history when many Americans owned other Americans as property, as slaves, and with the approval and protection of government. I'm glad he got that part in there. People get angry with me when I say, oh, no, dude, it doesn't matter how you want history to be read. The fact of the matter is that chattel slavery was legal under the U.S. Constitution. That's a fact. And if you don't believe me, pick a pocket constitution up. We sell these in our Founders Trading Post store. Add one to your order when you order from us today. When you get one of these mugs, a bottle of Beast and butt rub right there, and a gift box for a boy or a girl today, add one of these guys. Carry one. I always have one in my back pocket. Comes in handy. And it's the war was fought over the loss of political power, and we'll have more discussion on that. And then he said, the tragic. Or if you don't believe that, then read the 13th Amendment. If chattel slavery is not legal under the U.S. Constitution, why do you need a 13th Amendment? End of discussion. And here, mic drop, Constitution drop. You don't. If what some people say is true, then you don't need a 13th Amendment. But you get a 13th Amendment, so proving the point. And then Mike Lee, Senator Lee says 1937, progressives in all three branches of the U.S. government, with one final push from the Supreme Court, dangerously eroded the Constitution's twin structural protections. The vertical protection we call federalism and the horizontal protection known in the nearly 88 years skipped ahead. Known as separation of powers, all to facilitate FDR's quest to centralize power in the federal government in response to the Great Depression. In the nearly 88 years since the Supreme Court opened this era on April the 12th, 1937, the day the court redefined Congress's power to regulate interstate commerce, he's talking about Wickard versus Filburn again, so broadly that nothing remained of federalism, and indirectly set in motion Congress's now common habit of delegating lawmaking power to unelected bureaucrats. Americans have lost much of their power to control their own destiny to people in Washington, D.C. Oh, true. Senator Lee is correct. Okay, Senator Lee, do something about it. This is where we are. What are you going to do about it? We all know what the problem is. How do you fix it? Again, we want to pop up in the corner screen right up here. We're going to put it. I'm going to show this to you every day. See where that live button is? Right underneath the live button, we're going to have a little window that's just going to have the dead clock when it starts going backwards. That will be the signal moment that you know that Make America Great and Sane and solvent again, massa, that Doge has actually begun to work when the debt clock starts going backwards. Folks, I'm the only radio and TV personality out there that's delivering this stuff to you. So get a pencil, write it down, wake up Granny, spank her on the fanny, and tell her the good news. These are signs. When that debt clock starts going backwards, by the way, Congressman Massey wears a debt clock on his lapel. He invented this little gizmo that has enough digits across a little LED or LCD screen. It's either LED or LCD. It's probably an LED. And it shows the debt clock actually moving. He'll sell you one for $100 actually. Because I asked him, and he goes, well, if you want one, I'll sell you one. It's going to cost you $100. It's going more into the red. We want it to go in the other direction. We want it to start counting down. The only way that happens is when the federales stop spending more money than they take in. This is not a difficult proposition. Every state in the union has to do it. It can be done. It was done for almost 200 and some odd years. That's when you'll know that progress is, that this thing has actually begun to unwind. Mike Lee. Point 9. We're about to have another one of those years, one that could initiate the reversal of the immense harm that has been unleashed on the American people by their own government, no less ever since April 12, 1937. Number 10, brace yourselves, because 2025 is shaping up to be the next big pivotal year. Only the fourth in our 248-year history as a country, we're on the cusp of setting in motion a new, brighter era for America. 11. This next era must be about reinstating the Constitution's core structural protections, both the vertical protection of federalism and the horizontal separation of powers. 12. Congress needs to step up aggressively. It's time to open this next chapter where we, the American Shersons, that's plural for persons, combined with sheep, the American sheeple, it's plural for sheeple, We've been who've been running the government like it's their personal sandbox, treating us like they're toys, or better said, they're subjects. 13. These bureaucrats churn out nearly 100,000 pages of regulations every year, regulations that not one elected lawmaker votes to enact into law. Then stop them. So I sent a note to Senator Mike Lee. I don't know if he read it. I hope he did. I told Kurt Wallace this in the interview that I did for the Rand Paul review on Substack 2 weeks ago. What's the signal thing? If I could tell Elon one thing, what would I tell him? Budget Impoundment and Reconstruction Act of 1974. Repeal it. This is what sets out this goofy, this thing called baseline. I don't want to get into the details because we're going to get out in the weeds. Repeal the 1974 Act. That's where you start. Once that's done, then you can obliterate any federal agency you want to. You don't have to allocate a nickel for it. You want to get rid of the helium reserve? Actually, they already got rid of it. You want of the chicken egg reserve or whatever it is, get rid of it. Get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. You want to give a haircut to this agency, to this department that has 100 agencies under it? Kill them all. Simple resolution, kill them. Remove the funding, tell the people they're fired, go home. Simple as that. Again, it's not whether or not this can be done, it's whether or not the willpower to do it is there to make America solvent again. So I promised you that I would deliver the first verse to the song on the 12 Days of MAGAmas Donald Trump gave to me. So, and we're going to do all 12 days here. So here is, just quickly, because I said I would do it in this segment. Here is the first verse. And I already have the second one done, but you're going to have to wait till Monday. I'm not going to give you the second one today. KingDude, give us the song. No, I'm not giving you the song. You're going to get it in real time as I write it. On the first day of MAGAmas, Donald Trump gave to me the restoration of my liberty. See, it even rhymes. It even rhymes like a song. The restoration of my liberty. You can say liberties if you want, but it's partridge in a pear tree, not pear tree, so... okay, so on the first day of MAGAmas, everyone sing after me. Donald Trump gave to me the restoration of my liberties, of my liberties. Somebody who can carry a tune, hum that out for us, record it, and send it along so we can play it. I actually kind of like that. Wait till you hear number 2. Wait till you hear day 2. You're going to go, okay, all right, you're on to something. All right, 844-527-8723. Call in line telephone number. A couple more from Senator Mike Lee here on the first day of MAGAmas. In approaching this daunting but all-important task, we must be looking not just at cutting costs, but also setting the stage for an unprecedented era of economic growth. Without the federal administrative state leeching off our economy like an alien parasite that's torturing its host and robbing it of nutrients, we can and will thrive. Elon said this in a tweet. I read it to you in the first segment of the program. You need to get rid of them, get rid of them. Remove all of these people from these non-productive jobs. They're not jobs at all. They are just a bunch of parasitic teat sucklers. We're not going to blame them for fleecing us for $4 trillion a year for the last 6 decades, or 6 or 7 decades. We're just going to tell them there's a new sheriff in town and you're going to have to go find something productive to do. I mean, the genius of this is you don't run debt up, so the amount that you owe and the debt that has to be serviced starts to go down. So if the government actually has to do something, it actually has the means to do it. And we don't want it to do very much. Well, now the debt limit or the debt service has been taken off the back of the average American taxpayer, you can do things like, repeal the 16th Amendment and get rid of the income tax. You can do things like eliminate and remove entire agencies because they are not needed and they're not necessary. If these things have to be carried out, let the states do it. Again, if an entrepreneur can do something, then government shouldn't. Pretty simple rule. If they adopt that, we're going to be well on our way to something really special, folks.